guys, this is another entry in the Allan's Answers podcast, and I got 5 questions lined up for us today. The first one comes from Stink Breath, and they ask, why is there a constant battle between good and evil? And they ask, will it ever end? And I feel like that there's kind of a constant battle because without one or the other, life kind of loses its meaning, you know? It's kind of like that appreciation where if something's really bad, then you can determine it from something that's really good, you know? And therefore there always has to be two kind of distinguishing factors in order for us to compare our lives to that and thus have meaning and create meaning in our lives, you know? And I feel like that it's kind of an archetypal kind of theme like we're talking about in Miss Tyndall's class, or English class, kind of crosses all cultural boundaries and is a timeless theme, you know, that it's been going on forever, you know, God versus the devil, plenty of other stories where it's good versus evil, you know, the Sith versus the Republic, you know, in Star Wars. It's so many different instances where this occurs, and I think that it's kind of always going to happen. It's not really going to end, because if one ends, then I feel like kind of like the whole mojo of existence kind of loses its balance. It goes out of balance, you know. So that's just my opinion on it. And then Joey Rowling asks, how to be perfect and find your inner beauty. I know there's nobody perfect, but how can we overcome it? How we overcome with it? At least know how to be an almost perfect person, and what kind of characteristic that inner beauty require. And I guess this really depends on what you think is beautiful, you know. Like I did a podcast with Tim about beauty, and I feel like that everybody has their own determination of what is going to be beautiful and what isn't, you know. But I feel like that there are definitely some characteristics that are kind of wanted more than others, you know, like being a fun person to hang out with, being loving, you know, just kind of things that like that, you know, are kind of the basics of what is beauty, you know. And you can't really be beautiful, but there is an importance of finding your way to be the best who you are personally, you know. And that, in a sense, is your inner beauty, you know. The best that you personally can do is pretty, I guess you consider your inner beauty, and that's as perfect as you will be, and you have to kind of accept that. It's kind of one of those boundaries, but you can try and overcome it, and you can always try and push the boundary a little bit further, you know, and just keep trying to reach closer to the best that you are, you know. So hopefully that answers your question. And then Smiley Fat Face asks, how is force unnecessary for obtaining peace? And I kind of wanted to say this because we just recently did a question in psych about is war a biological part of humanity, the biological destiny of humanity, you know? And I feel like that generally and inevitably there's a sense you need to use violence to obtain peace, you know? And therefore, because you scare or defeat another side, that they'll assimilate to your side, and therefore you will be able to accomplish more, you know. And because of that, that is in a sense peace, you know. But I also think there are methods that don't require force for obtaining peace, you know, that kind of bring people along to your regime and your side, and they'll be the most successful if you can effectively show other potential followers that there are other methods that don't require kind of unnecessary risks, like risking your life in order to cause civic change, you know. And I guess a most kind of well-known example of this is civil disobedience with Martin Luther King, you know. He didn't kill anybody, he didn't attack anybody, he just didn't obey or went around the rules of the law in order to kind of effectively show his position and kind of build a basis for followers upon that too. And when he didn't do anything wrong and he was charged and punished for things that it was unnecessary, you know, there in a sense revealed the wrongdoings and the injustices and corruption in the government and society as well, and kind of brought people's awareness to it and made them want to change it, so they followed him, you know. So I feel like that's a good example of that. And then Omniac Bites the Dust asks, is it ever possible for someone to lose something that he or she never had? And I feel like that, in a sense, it isn't necessarily possible to lose something that you never have, but you definitely can lose the opportunity into being able to achieve it in the future. You know, like if you kind of want to be an artist and you could have been the best artist in the world, you know, you could have had some talent in artist, but you lost the opportunity to do it when you didn't choose to go to art school for college, you know, or something like that. You know, there are plenty of what ifs in this situation, and I don't think that you can physically lose something that you've never had, but you can definitely, I think opportunity is a huge part of actually acquiring something, because you need the chance to actually get to own it, you know, and without that chance, then that thing never becomes an existence in your life. And I feel like that could be the reason for why you will never have it. So hopefully that answers your question. And then Keep Smiling asks, how much is this right? What you have inside of you is what you see in others. And I feel like that I wanted to talk about this because also in my psych class with Mrs. Epp, we talked about how qualities that we hate or perceive as negative in other people are actually suppressed feelings about what we have in ourselves, you know. So like if we find somebody annoying, we see in ourselves that we're annoying at times, but we, in a sense, we need an understanding of what exactly annoying means to us in order to project it or perceive a projection of it in somebody else's character, you know. So you need to understand exactly what annoying is for yourself, or what being annoying means, and therefore you can make that judgment if other people have been annoying to you as well, you know. So I feel like that's kind of a necessary step, and while you might not necessarily feel that way consciously or currently, you know, at one point you have to have understood what exactly it means to yourself in order to judge others of what they are, you know. And I feel like that's kind of true in a sense, you know. So hopefully that answers your question. Hopefully that answers your question, guys, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. So I will see you next time. Bye.